You're watching Inside Automotive with Jim Fitzpatrick.
Consumers are looking for transparency when purchasing a vehicle, leading many to do much of their research before they even contact the dealership. Since 1936, Consumer Reports has helped to shape purchase decisions for many out there, from testing to transparency and so much research. So today we are learning more about the organization and how they're evaluating today's EVs. Joining us now is Jake Fisher, who is the Senior Director of Automotive Testing at Consumer Reports. He is the man right there that everybody wants to talk to, and we have him here at CBT News. So Jake, thanks so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule there evaluating EVs to talk to us at CBT.
Sure, you're very welcome.
Sure. So let's first and foremost, let's start out with Consumer Reports. For those few people out there that might not be as familiar with Consumer Reports as I am, because I'm an old guy in the car business, and we, as I mentioned to you before we started recording, consumers just lived based on what Consumer Reports said they should buy and not buy, and I'm sure today that's still true. So talk to us, give us an update about Consumer Reports and what it is you do offer.
Sure. I mean, when it comes to looking at which car to buy or looking for car reviews, it's a crowded market. There's a lot of different sources. We are a bit different in we kind of look at that kind of small niche of the vast majority of people. And I kind of joke about that because there are so many sources that, I mean, look, I mean, if you read the news, you read about the Cybertruck, and you'd think the most important thing about a pickup truck these days is your ability to out drag race a sports car. The truth is that when it comes to normal people who are looking for transportation for their families, for a commute, I mean, they're looking for safe, reliable vehicles.
That's right.
And the vast majority of noise out there really isn't about that. It's about how fast it goes around a racetrack or something like that. And look, I'm a car enthusiast. I get that. I love that. I watch, Top Gear reruns like it's like my religion.
Sure.
But when you're looking for a car for your family, you're looking for reliability, you're looking for safety. These are the things that we really highlight in our testing.
That's right. That's great. And you do such a good job at it. And it's not like you're serving anybody other than that consumer, other than that viewer of your content and the consumer of your content. Not like you got huge ads or some corporate giant that you're answering to. It's really an independent evaluation of these vehicles. It's amazing.
We're a nonprofit.
Yeah.
We don't accept advertising. And in fact, all the cars that we test, they aren't given to us from manufacturers. We go out and purchase them ourselves.
Wow.
So it's a very different thing. And when we go and we evaluate these vehicles, we're not worried. If we say it's bad, we're not worried about losing advertisement.
Right.
We could tell you we don't pull any punches.
Sure.
But when we say it's good, or we actually do change the market, because we do represent what the majority of people are actually looking for, not just that kind of fringe of enthusiasts, which, again, guilty. I am one of those, but I understand that, the car that I want in my driveway is not necessarily the one that most families are looking for.
Right. So obviously EVs are such a hot topic, and everybody is out there. Dealers are trying to figure out, the best way to sell them and offer them, and manufacturers are trying to figure out the right number to build. Is there a big enough demand out there? And then, of course, consumers are wondering, should I look at an EV next go around when I'm looking at vehicles? When I'm looking for the next family vehicle to buy? And so there's so much to cover in this EV realm, or the EV ecosystem, I guess you could say. But talk to us about that and what goes into evaluating an EV and what your take is on that. I know it's a very loaded question, but
it's a real loaded question. And the issue with EVs is, like everything, unfortunately, in our country, everything becomes political. And it's like, are you for EVs or against EVs?
Exactly.
And you know what? There's nuance. I mean, the truth is there are electrified powertrains that make a lot of sense for a lot of people.
Yeah.
But not for everyone.
Yeah.
And that's really where we come in. Is it right for you?
Yeah.
That's really the question. It's not about what bumper sticker you're going to put in your car, or not what CEO you're trying to support or not. It's not even about that at all. But depending on what you're using your vehicle for, there are some great choices out there that are going to save you money. And when you look at EVs, it's not just electric vehicles or, a V8. There's a lot of things in the middle. There's some wonderful hybrids out there that are really fuel efficient, and they don't have to change the way you actually use your vehicle. You're still going to the gas station. You're not charging at home. There are plug-in hybrids that really, at their best, they're offering the best of both worlds. Every day you could use them on electricity if you're just commuting to work. But if you need to take that trip, you're not worried about trying to get that fast charger that may be broken along the road. So there's lots of different options, and really that's where we're trying to break it down and figure out what the best options are for each person.
Sure. You know, everybody's got this, not everybody, but a lot of people that are looking at this have got that range anxiety. You know, I don't want to get stuck on the road and there's not a charging station around, and yet my car runs out of charge. What's the real deal out there? What's the real world on with regard to charging and charging range? It's just something that everybody is concerned about, right?
Yeah, so one thing that we do, so we do an extensive testing program, right? Every car that we purchase go through more than 50 tests. And when it comes to EVs, we do a lot of different tests. We're looking at charging rates. We're also looking at that range. Now, you may see those ranges that are advertised from the car companies, but you have to think about this a little bit with a grain of salt. And the reason why is those ranges are based off of mixed driving. What that means is that in mixed driving, you may actually get more range. But if you really are concerned about taking a trip, generally it's not mixed driving. Generally you're on a highway. And when it comes to EVs, they are not as efficient at speed. So if you're driving at 70 miles per hour, you're not getting the same energy efficiency as you would be around town. So we actually do our own range tests, a highway range test at a steady speed. And for some EVs, we find quite a bit lower range. And actually on some we find higher.
Okay. Interesting. And then, of course, weather has something to do with this too, right?
Absolutely. We've done some extensive testing at cold temperatures, and you could absolutely lose a quarter or even half your range if it's cold temperatures and you're making frequent stops.
Oh my
so
gosh,
it really
that's
does. It's substantial. And actually, surprisingly, when it comes to the heat, EVs tend to do even better. So we've done testing that at around 85 degrees, we were actually getting better fuel efficiency even with the AC on than at 65 degrees. So again, depends on where you live. If you're in Southern California and there are EV chargers everywhere, you know what? It's a great time to get an EV. If you live, in Maine and it's cold and there's snow everywhere, maybe a hybrid is going to be a better bet for you.
Sure. And it's going to be a while until the rest of the country looks like Southern California with regard to the EV charging stations available to drivers, right?
That's right. I mean, in terms of the infrastructure, there's a lot of work to be done. Right now, if you are looking for an EV, you really should look at a Tesla because the Tesla infrastructure is just superior to the infrastructure you would get with any other EV. They're easy to use. They generally work. They are much more reliable than we've found than other chargers. So really right now, that's probably the choice. That is going to change very quickly. But it doesn't always pay to be an early adopter.
Right. So if it wasn't a Tesla and you said, I don't want to buy a Tesla, I want to buy something else, what would be next on the list?
Well, I mean, look, there are some great EVs out there for sure. For instance, the Hyundai Ioniq 5, that's a nice vehicle. Hyundai and Kia make some nice vehicles. BMW makes some wonderful EVs. They're on the higher end. But the truth is that you might want to consider a plug-in hybrid or a hybrid at this point because you know what? They're going to wind up saving you probably even more money. And the other really important thing to think about is in terms of reliability. And what we have found that EVs on a whole, they're actually about 79% more problems than gasoline-powered vehicles. It's not just because EV powertrains are problematic. What it is that most EVs are just loaded with lots and lots of technology. And again, catering to your early adopters, catering to trying out those new things, more problems. And that's something to consider when you're looking for a current EV.
Just be ready. You gotta be ready if you're jumping into an EV for all of these different
right.
elements that you just talked about, right?
Yep.
So just be prepared
That's
for
right.
it. Hey, talk to us about the Consumer Reports. You recently released the annual car reliability survey. What were the most reliable EVs? Is it Tesla?
So Tesla, Tesla's a bit of a sweet spot because Tesla is they've been around long enough that they're actually working out some of the general production issues
Okay.
that we're seeing issues with, like some new automakers like Rivian and Lucid.
Okay.
But also they have a lot of experience when it comes to making EV powertrains. So they are making fairly reliable vehicles right now. I should say the Tesla Model 3 and the Tesla Model Y, they're smaller vehicles. They're higher end vehicles, not quite as reliable. But when it comes to, if you're looking for reliability and you're looking for electrified powertrain, again, hybrids may really be the smart choice. We actually found that hybrids on a whole are more reliable than gasoline counterparts. And these are vehicles that they don't use their brakes that much because they use regenerative braking, and they actually were able to recharge the batteries when you slow down the vehicle. And honestly, they're not filled with all the latest technologies. They're generally pretty run-of-the-mill types vehicles. And in fact, if you're looking on the road, you may be seeing a hybrid you might not even know, because you always have to look at that little badge in the back to realize they are.
Yeah, for sure. So your survey also covered problem areas as reported by owners. Can you take us through a few of those?
Sure. So the way we do our survey, it's not based on our experiences with our cars and our test fleet. It's based on hundreds of thousands of vehicles that our members own. So this latest survey, over 300,000 vehicles, and we comb through all the data and all the experiences and verbatim text. We actually hear from them, understand exactly what went wrong with those vehicles, and we use that to predict how the new vehicles are going to fare. So it's an enormous amount of data. It's a huge analysis, but it really does bring out what's going wrong with today's vehicles, and what are the categories, what are the problems, what are the problem types, and we go down. There's about 20 different problem areas, and we could really determine down to the component what's going wrong with today's cars.
Wow, that is fantastic. Jake Fisher, Senior Director of Automotive Testing at Consumer Reports. That is a name you can trust, that's for sure. And consumers have trusted it for since 1936. So did not know that it was a nonprofit. That's very interesting. So man, you're getting the real deal when you pick up a Consumer Reports, go to their website as well. So thank you so much, Jake. Really appreciate it. Love to do a follow-up with you because there's so much more to talk about. So thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks for watching Inside Automotive with Jim Fitzpatrick.